Hi, I'm Daniel Foster. I'm the Executive Director here at the Riverside Art Museum. And I welcome you to this program that brings forth some of the best artists that we have in our community around an exhibition that we launched in 2006 in downtown Riverside called the Giant Orange Art Venture. Come with me as we introduce you to some of the best artists that are in our community. Welcome. We're in the home of Greg and Kathy Maxwell, one of the outstanding artist teams that executed Giant Orange in the Giant Orange Art Venture at the Riverside Art Museum. Greg and Kathy, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your background and your artistic endeavors in particular.
I'm a self-taught mosaic artist. I started experimenting with mosaic art about 3.5 years ago. Small things, frames, pots, stepping stones. My daughter and I had the opportunity to rent a small studio in the Life Arts building in downtown Riverside, and we are a part of Riverside's Arts Walk the first Thursday of every month. We've had some work in the Riverside County Administrative Center in Division 9, in Back to the Grind, and also at the Metropolitan Art Museum.
And at the Riverside Art Museum.
And at the Riverside Art Museum. I really enjoy doing mosaic art. It's very therapeutic to me.
I have been a general contractor now for 11 or 12 years, and I do custom kitchens and baths that let me work with tile and kind of bring my customers' designs to life. So that's where I kind of get my artistic ability, with tile and stone.
How did you first find out about the Giant Orange Art Venture and decide to enter into it?
Actually, it was a friend of ours and a client of mine, Frank Martinez, told us about this. He had seen the ad in the Riverside Press Enterprise and called us and said, "You guys ought to apply for this, because I've done a lot of custom work for them, tile and stone," and that's how we heard about it.
How did you react to the news when you first heard that you were selected as an artist team?
We were very excited and very honored to have been chosen by the Art Museum to be involved.
And scared at the same time, because we have to execute this art, and it was it was a little scary.
How did your children react to the news?
They were very proud. They told us all along, "You can do it. You know, apply for this." They were very proud.
And are
not surprised.
No, our children are all artistic as well.
What was your inspiration for the design?
Well, I think our inspiration was for us, both of us growing up in Riverside, and all of the things that mean a lot to us. Mount Rubidoux, the Fox Theater, the Mission Inn, palm trees, orange groves. We spent our wedding night at the Mission Inn almost 30 years ago. Riverside itself.
How did you decide between yourselves how you were going to accomplish the task and who was going to do what?
Well, I think my forte is the architecture and the landscape for the most part. So we kind of decided that I would do those applications on the orange, but we both bounced ideas off each other as far as our ideas for the design. Kathy did more of the non-lineal art. She's more artistic in that respect, I think.
Did you work on the orange together as a couple or separately? And give us some idea about the time of day or night and weekends that was required for you to execute this orange.
We worked together probably 95% of the time together. There were times when one or the other would work on the orange separately, but we worked on weekends, probably 9 to 5 for 3.5 months. Mm-hmm. Rain or shine, windy, it didn't matter.
Plus, it was good for us to be together because we could bounce ideas off each other, and sometimes I would get frozen, or Kathy would like, "This isn't coming out the way I wanted, what do you think?" And so between us, we'd come up with some kind of idea to make it work. So we worked well together.
How long did it take you to complete the project from start to finish?
About 3.5 months of working on the weekends.
We kind of think about, with the help we had from our daughter, Erin, about 500 hours on this orange working on it.
What was the hardest and or the easiest part of this project overall?
That was a rounded surface that had sculptured dimples in it, and that was difficult. And then probably the last 12 inches, the bottom, the lower 12 inches, was difficult to get down and have to apply tile and grout. And
I don't think there was any easy part of that orange to do for us. I don't think there was one part that was easy.
Did the completed orange actually realize your original vision?
Actually, I think the orange is more beautiful, and the designs evolved as we went. And actually, it's not, the orange doesn't really look quite like our original sketch, because the orange evolved as we executed the design. So it came out
far exceeded our expectations.
What was it like when you first completed the orange, that very first moment?
It was just a magical, wonderful feeling. We were so thrilled that the day had finally come. It was very satisfying, but it was also a lot of work over a few months' time, and it was a wonderful day. We celebrated.
Yes, we did.
What was it like for you when they first unveiled the completed orange for the public to see?
It was amazing. We were so proud. We were so honored at all of the positive comments that we heard. We were so honored to be involved with the art museum. It was one of the most wonderful days of our
Yeah, it
whole
was a
life.
highlight, and to be involved in so many beautiful oranges when it was unveiled, it was a very special day. We were very proud.
Well, thank you so much, Greg and Kathy. I know you were also selected to do the official gift, giant orange, going to Sendai, Japan, and we're looking forward to talking to you at a future date about that. Thank you. Hi, I'm sitting here with one of the 32 giant orange artists, Jana Stevens-Furzer. Jana, give us a little bit of your background and what kind of artistic expressions you've pursued in the past before this project.
Well, I've been in the decorative arts after I went to the City College here in Riverside and got a graphic arts degree, and proceeded on down to Laguna Beach to the School of Art there and got my bachelor's degree in fine arts, and started working with interior designers doing mural work and painting furniture, hand painting furniture, and doing some tile projects and things like that, and I did that for 28 years.
How did you first hear about the opportunity to participate, and what motivated you to apply and go through the selection process?
I actually saw it in the Press Enterprise paper, and I think it was toward the end of the time that you could apply too, and I was very happy to get a chance because this is my hometown.
Now, once you made the commitment to participate, how did you generate your concept and your sketch design for consideration?
Probably my childhood and what I think of, because I grew up on Victoria Avenue and in the orange groves, and that's where we played, and that's where we rode horses and probably picked oranges that didn't belong to us. But Riverside in the spring, everything smelled like orange blossoms, and everything was oranges, and everything was green, and the sky was blue, and all the colors are based on my memory. It's a childhood memory, really. Everyone has a thing about shiny things. That's my likeness, I think, for the ceramics, and I wanted to do something with texture to it because I knew a lot of the artists would be painting. So I thought, well, this would be nice.
Was it a challenge for you when you heard that you would actually be working with an orange shape and trying to figure out a concept of how you would work with that, or was it a natural for you?
Actually, this design was okay, but the size of it was a little overwhelming, and could I get enough of because I used as the background broken china plates, and then of course when it came and Burgess brought it, I was overwhelmed because it was about as tall as I was, and it is a huge, huge project, and to do something in the round, mine's actually a simpler idea, but a lot of the artists had very complex imagery and a lot of work. I mean, my work was more construction, almost more than the design.
Let's go back to when you first found out that you were selected. What was that feeling when you were notified?
That was pretty huge for me, just because I grew up here locally and, graduated from high school here and went to college here. So, it's a thank you to Riverside, because my family was very involved with the city and everything, but it was also a compliment to me. It was Riverside giving something to me and saying, oh, you're good enough to do this. And that was very big.
So when blank canvas orange essentially showed up at your doorstep, what was your impression that you were just referring to?
It was bigger. It doesn't matter if you read it on paper, you know, with the size. It's always different when you see it. But actually, it was better than I thought.
Did it go pretty much according to plan?
The colors came on afterwards. I was not satisfied. It wasn't bright enough. And I had to sleep on it for about a week. It was one of those epiphanies, first thing in the morning with your coffee going, oh, I know what'll fix it. It's not right. And your husband going, leave it alone. Knew and went out and painted in orange and went, oh, it's exactly right. The grout wasn't bright enough. It toned down the tiles that I'd used and the glass gems that I had used for the oranges, and it wasn't what I saw in my head. And so it was almost an incomplete design in that sense, I suppose, until I actually started tiling.
How did you go about working on the orange?
Actually, I worked on it about 4 days a week for probably 2 or 3 hours a day, sometimes 4 hours a day. And the weekends I would go out there and sit. And of course you have to have the radio going, and it's in the garage because you couldn't get it through the door into my studio. So I know a lot of the artists did theirs in the garage. The kids in the neighborhood that came to play would have to, and on all the neighbors, they have to come and check on the orange. I had them driving up the driveway going, what is that you are doing now? Because there was a giant orange. And of course my father, who called it a pumpkin for about 2 months until I got him past that. But it was interesting. But you have to stay consistent. I was very afraid I wasn't going to get it done. And I'm sure I wasn't the only artist thinking that, you know. And so you push, so you have that little bit of time at the end to figure the colors or this or to put that extra layer on. And that doesn't always happen, but I was lucky enough that it did. But I was probably around the last 2 weeks down to the wire, so I'm glad that I did push in the beginning and start at it right away.
What was it like for you in terms of your family and your friends that knew you were underway on this project?
You know, my husband has been wonderful. He's my best fan. The rest of the family, I have a brother that works downtown here, and he is very involved with the arts. And the rest of the family that is not as involved with the arts didn't quite until they went along or they saw it and realized what it was. You know, to explain it is not the same as seeing it. And but they're very much behind me with my art, which is really nice.
Did it realize your original concept and vision, or how was that different?
You know, I actually liked it better because when I first grouted it, that was all I was going to do, and it was white grout, so the tile was very, you know, very close together. My grout lines are in the oranges are very tight and everything, but by putting the ceramic paint on it, it just burst off the actual orange itself. So I was so much happier with that and the discovery of, you know, painting that way and being able to bring out the colors I wanted, the leaf popping out like it did and everything, so that it was an orange unto itself plus had the additional imagery on it, and that's what I wanted. So it was a nice little kind of a last minute construction leap for me to do that, and so I was much happier than in the middle of it when I wasn't feeling right about it.
Now, when the exhibition opened and there was a grand gala event at White Park, how did that make you feel? What was that evening and that opening like for you?
You know, that whole thing was a lovely, lovely, well done thing. The park was great, the people that were there, the vendors, the restaurants that were there were wonderful. And my funnest thing was to sit back and watch people come up and look at my orange. That was the funnest thing in the evening, and not mention that I was the artist and listen to them, be close enough that I could hear their comments, because that's the best pay you can get. They loved the glass oranges, and they liked the little tiles. They were I noticed that they were very intrigued with all the little bits of the china plates, wondering where I got them, and which they all came from, well, there's one of my mothers in there. Of course, you have to do that. The rest of them all came from Riverside County families. They were donated. There's a ceramic store down in Temecula who is wonderful and donated pounds of ceramics. So there's a lot of children's ceramics on there. But the plates are something that people ate over and discussed their lives and talked about school and church and, you know, all these things. So it was interesting to see other people see my interest in that. Because I thought about that as I was putting them on there, that, you know, all these things had happened over these plates and they were part of Riverside County in that sense. So I was putting Riverside on my Riverside orange, and I kind of like that concept.
What do you feel the community has gained from this project in the community?
You know, I think it's an art education for the citizens. Just the response I got from people, I had to go and do a little fix-it when it was on the yearly display on the mall there. It probably took me 3 times as long to get the work done because of the amount of people that stopped out of curiosity and wanted to know if I was the artist and can I take your picture. And the children, very interesting. In fact, one little boy was so excited that I gave him some of the little glass gems and he went off like he had pirate treasure. Doing the children's murals, that's the biggest pay, is the response that you get.
I'm sitting here with Kathy Allaby, who is the Grove Supervisor and actually one of the original founders of the Giant Orange Art Venture. Kathy, you've had a tremendous hand in developing events in Riverside, the Ghost Walk event with the California Riverside Ballet, and also involved with the Fox Theater and its renovation. And so how did you find yourself coming through the doors of the Riverside Art Museum and getting involved?
Right. I've always been interested in the arts in Riverside, and I was also president of the Riverside Arts Foundation many years ago before it's changed into its current life. And so I've always been interested in the arts, and one can't help but be interested in the Art Museum and in its wonderful historic building and the potential that it has here in Riverside. So I was just inclined to stretch into the Riverside Art Museum and see what I could do in this venue.
Now, you got involved with the Art Alliance of the Riverside Art Museum. Can you tell us about what that group does and how you got involved?
The Art Alliance is the fundraising arm for the Riverside Art Museum, and it's a perfect place for me because I actually like to do fundraisers. And it gave me a chance to develop some projects that are excellent fundraisers as well as fun art projects. And of course, the Giant Orange Art Venture being the most obvious way to both create art that people like and enjoy, as well as to make a lot of money for the Art Museum.
How did the Giant Orange Art Venture come to light?
It was really fun. We got a group of us together one June day in a room and talked about ideas. And I waited until the group was excited about an idea. And the idea they were most excited about were the cows in Chicago, these big fiberglass art cows in Chicago. And every time we talked about ideas, when they mentioned the cows, the whole room would kind of bubble. And it was that time we said, that kind of excitement is what you need when you start a big project, especially one where you want to make the kind of money where we wanted to make. So with that kind of enthusiasm, we started to find our own fiberglass art venture. And originally we thought maybe we would go for an animal, but we couldn't find an animal that really captured Riverside. Everything that we thought of just wasn't right. And of course the orange is perfect because it speaks to our heritage, it speaks to Riverside and what's unique about our community. And it turned out to be a wonderful canvas for the artists to use as well, and so much more artistic and successful than I could have imagined.
And I know Phyllis Crabtree, who was the president of the Art Alliance at that time, was really important as a partner with you in developing this.
Everything that I did with Phyllis Crabtree, so she and I kind of masterminded, and Beth Kohlmeyer was our assistant. And between us, we had a very small committee of about 10, but those people were so instrumental, and between us all, we were able to pull off this great art venture, which is just great.
What's the overall time frame that you really made a commitment, or what level of commitment do you feel you actually put in to see this come to such a success?
Well, it took us about 6 months of planning to get us to the point where we were ordering, selling oranges, and getting artists signed up. And after that, it was another 6 months before we actually unveiled them. So practically within 1 year from idea to completion, we had 32 giant oranges in Riverside. So that's a very quick turnaround.
Now, how was it decided upon that 32 artists would be sought after and 32 oranges would be developed?
We originally thought 25 oranges was about all we could handle, but they turned out to be so much more popular for sponsors than we could have imagined. And when we went into the community and we started talking up giant oranges, people were saying, yes, we want to do it. And people were just so excited about it that we ended up with 30 before we knew it. And then 2 came in at the last moment, and we kind of snuck those 2 in. It was very, very popular with sponsors. Everybody got behind the idea.
What was the process to go out and find the artists in the community that would be part of this project?
One of the secrets of its success is really that we were a friend with our press enterprise. The press enterprise being able to give us the free ad space and the free notifications and all to the artists really helped us a lot. And because of that, we were able to solicit artists right from the beginning. And we got lots and lots of art ideas coming through with our artist submissions. That helped us a lot. And we had lots and lots of sponsors. So it was like a match made in heaven.
About how many designs and artists submitted to get involved with this?
We had close to 60 original submissions by artists, and of course we chose the 32, so that was nice. We got to double the choice for each of the sponsors.
What was that day like when you saw all the oranges arrive in Riverside and what we had in our hands?
Oh, that was really exciting because the 32 giant oranges, of course, in these huge crates arrive, and we started unwrapping them, and somebody said it was kind of like the alien invasion of the oranges. It was really fun. And originally, we thought, these have to be pretty big oranges. We can't do small oranges. I mean, you're either having a giant orange or you're not. But they were so much bigger than we imagined, and they turned out to be quite large. And of course, when they're all together, all 32 of them, they're quite massive, and it's quite fun.
What kind of feedback were you getting from the artists in terms of what they had received and the process of months of working on that?
Yeah, I think all the artists kind of were taken aback originally when we delivered these huge sculptures. I think that also impressed them with the size, and a lot of them said, oh my gosh, what have we gotten into? But I think when they started working on it, there was a sense of satisfaction about it, and every single artist came through and finished in time. There was at one point halfway through the artist period where we kind of wondered, are they going to actually finish these giant oranges or not? But everybody did. And at the opening on June 3rd, 2006, oh my gosh, it was just a wonderful thing to see all 32 beautiful new oranges in the park, and a wonderful opening with over 1,500 community people there for the grand opening and unveiling.
How long were the oranges out on display, and then how did that exhibition wind down and come to a close?
Originally, we had thought we'll put the oranges out for 4 months, and then we'll take them all down, and everybody will want to give them back to us to auction. That's sometimes the way it goes in other towns, but there seemed to be a love affair going on with oranges, and most of the sponsors wanted to keep their orange. So after 4 months, we had about a third of the oranges to auction off, but that turned out to be very successful as well. So the oranges got their summer run, and we got our auction, and when everything was all told, we made a lot of money for the art museum.
Where are they in the community now, and where can we find some of them out there?
Almost half the oranges are now in public locations of one kind or another. The sponsors either put them in always intended to have them in a public location, or they've donated them to someone who has them in a public location. We have 3, for instance, in our public libraries, which I love. One in front of our Metropolitan Museum, which is nice. Many in front of, in shopping centers or in front of banks or in lobbies of banks that are accessible to the public as well. We have one in a park. One is going to a children's center. And of course, some are in private homes being enjoyed by people who won them at auction.
What do you see as the outcome of this and the benefits to the museum, to the community, to the artist, to everyone that was involved?
I originally thought that the success was just going to be in how much money we made, because I thought if it was a successful fundraiser, we would have exceeded our expectations. I didn't quite understand the impact it was going to have on the community as a whole. And I think maybe that first gala opening was the first time I realized that this event was going to take on a bigger life of its own than just what it could be as a fundraiser to the museum. And that the artists had a much greater impact than I realized. I thought it was wonderful that they were making these beautiful works of art, but I wasn't prepared for the way the public was going to react when they saw them, and the way people were going to walk up to them in the street and react to them. And I was not prepared for the kind of excitement that they would generate. And I'm still getting those kind of comments. People are saying, why did you pull the oranges? And I said, well, we didn't pull them. They had their run. And they said, oh, really? We thought they were going to be up forever. I think people really did think these oranges were going to always be there, and they were really disappointed that they aren't.
Did this realize your expectations?
Oh, yes, way beyond my expectations, because First of all, the community response right from the beginning through the whole show was just extraordinary. And I couldn't have asked for more support from a community. I think it says a lot about Riverside as a community and how they support it. I think there's a lot of art lovers here who want to see the kind of art that's being shown and are willing to support it. So I was very gratified by that. Sometimes you aren't sure when you have an idea, is it going to fly? But it did. It flew with flying colors. So very gratifying. Down to the very last day, we're still getting those kinds of comments. It's always good.
Thank you, Kathy, for sharing with us your insights and experiences into this wonderful project. Over the course of this program, I've shown you some of the artists that contributed their talent and given you a behind-the-scenes look at this wonderful Giant Orange art venture. These oranges are still out in the public, and I encourage you to take a walk and see for yourself the wonderful talent that's in our community. And to find out more about this project and events going on at the museum, please visit us at our website, riversideartmuseum.org, or call the museum and get involved with the museum and our wonderful programs in the future to come with the Art Alliance and within this community. This is Daniel Foster, and I thank you for watching this program.